If you like this video, please consider supporting me on Patreon. For just $1 a month, your name can appear at the beginning of this and many other upcoming videos.
So, who's the leader?
Only the most reckless ex-Wonderbolt of all time.
I'm back, bitches!
So after 5 years, Lightning Dust has finally returned with her team of daredevils, the Washouts. And holy crap have people been talking about it. Unfortunately, a lot of it doesn't have to do with the actual story and is more about whether or not Dusty got reformed. I guess they just chose to forget about everything else. So how was the actual story? Let's take a look. Dash finds out that Scootaloo has become a hardcore fan of the latest sensation to hit Ponyville, the Washouts, a team of Pegasi who dropped out of the Wonderbolts. Their leader turns out to be Lightning Dust, which seems to cause a slight rift between Scootaloo and Dash. And it certainly doesn't get any better when she decides to join them and volunteers for a ridiculously dangerous stunt. Fearing for her safety, Dash tries to convince Scootaloo to leave the group. But will she succeed? Well, we kind of already know the answer to that because Hasbro is pretty poor at keeping a cap on this stuff. Since everyone wants to make a big deal out of it, I suppose that I should start by talking about how I feel about Lightning Dust. And I'm not gonna lie. I actually really like how Dusty was handled. A lot of people have wrongfully mistaken her as evil or a villain when the episode makes it clear that Dusty isn't a bad guy. She's just a stuck-up rival to Rainbow Dash who serves as the antagonist for the plot. With all of the villain reformations that we've had in the past, it really feels refreshing to see that Dusty stays a smug rival by the end of the story. And the way she was portrayed here feels familiar to how she was in Wonderbolt Academy. She's a reckless loose cannon with a stubborn attitude, and there are flaws to her character that make sense. As an adrenaline junkie, she doesn't feel like she's doing anything wrong when giving others a rush. And now that she's in an environment that encourages her recklessness, surrounded by other daredevils with her skill level, she's obviously not gonna think she's at fault. In the climax, she clearly wasn't trying to hurt Scootaloo, she was just trying to give her a fast-paced thrill. Instead of just disregarding Scootaloo's safety, she instead disregards the probability of anything bad happening, which makes her reckless but not villainous. It does make her a bad influence that hasn't improved since Wonderbolt Academy, but it doesn't feel inconsistent with the character either. She's negligent, rash, inconsiderate, but she doesn't do it to spite anyone. In fact, she didn't even hold a grudge against Rainbow Dash. She claims that dropping out of the Wonderbolts was the best thing that ever happened to her, and she has Rainbow Dash to thank for it, even giving her a friendly jab by nicknaming her Wing Pony. She sees her relationship between the two as a friendly rivalry and not with any malicious intent. She's not really doing anything wrong. She just has a lot of pride in being a daredevil and it clouds her sense of caution. Dusty pretty much acts the way that she did last time, letting her love for being reckless get in the way of safety. So I really don't know why people are starting to think this is a problem. I honestly think it's important that Dusty didn't get a sudden redemption at the last minute because it would have felt rushed and inappropriate. If she does ever become more of an ally, there is potential for her to learn a lesson about not being so reckless and to have a better sense of responsibility. And it's something that needs to be the main focus of the episode and not something that happens in the last few minutes. So to put it simply, I really don't get why people are having a problem with her. There really wasn't anything insulting about the way Dusty was portrayed. She was very true to her previous depiction and she was written competently based on that depiction. She never had a problem with others getting injured during her stunts, which was actually pretty central to her character. The episode also has a really good eye to detail. The episode focuses on these Washouts who dropped out of the Wonderbolts, and one of them was actually seen in Top Bolt. So he really is a Wonderbolt dropout who failed those tests. And that one line from Applejack about Apple Bloom liking bananas is amazing. The way the joke was written, timed, and delivered made it the funniest thing that she said in a long time. Then you have Dash's role in the episode, which, while a little wobbly at first, quickly becomes one of its best elements. I find it annoying how she was acting selfish in her jealousy to the point that she was actually taking treats from Bon Bon and Lyra. But she does seem to stay in character in that she sees the Washouts as being overhyped, which fits with her sense of pride. And when she sees them perform firsthand, she acknowledges how cool and talented they are. But even then, she recognizes how they may not be a good influence on Scootaloo due to how dangerous their stunts are. Instead of acting jealous that Scootaloo is fawning over someone else, she mostly expresses concern. She has every right to, since Dusty has been shown to be a bad influence. When they last met, she got her injured and endangered the lives of her friends. What she did back then was pretty terrible to the point that she was willing to give up her life goal. And now that Scootaloo is getting involved in her reckless acts, it makes the situation more personal to Dash. It's actually the trust issue from No Second Prances done right. Dash has legitimate reasons to not trust Dusty as she senses the trouble of Scootaloo joining her group. Twilight simply didn't like Trixie, and her constant pestering of Starlight only further instigated her ego. Even with that aside, Rainbow Dash swiftly and appropriately shifted from being jealous to being protective. When she saw Scootaloo subjecting herself to life-threatening risks, she dropped her pride for something more important. It properly utilizes Dash's personality flaw to add drama to the story, and it's drama that doesn't feel forced. It's a great part of the episode because it shows the key difference between Dash and Dusty. They both may be energetic thrill-seekers who desire recognition, but Dash knows when to set a limit. If someone was really getting hurt by her recklessness, she would recognize when to stop. It contrasts really well with Dusty's desire to give it her all at any cost, even at the expense of her own safety, which contributes to her neglect for the safety of others. Even Scootaloo gets a good moment in the episode. While she does get a little stupid in her joining with the Washouts, she actually does make a good argument that justifies how she feels about them. The way she outright states that she can fly is like she's already accepted her limitations as a flightless Pegasus. It's made her partially uncertain about her life. And the episode has a pretty smart way of conveying that it's not just some random problem she has to deal with as a kid. The episode openly admits to a genuine disability that Scootaloo has to live with, and they do it without sugarcoating it. She then talks about how she can still do something awesome without flying. The argument that she makes is that she doesn't have to be like Rainbow Dash in order to be great. Rather, she can be great by being different from her. Her inability to fly actively disqualifies her from following in Dash's footsteps, and it acts as an issue that drives the conflict so it's fit into the story properly. But there's definitely some problems in the episode too. Mainly the way that Spitfire's cameo was really overdone. I'm pretty sure that you're not supposed to shake a small child like that no matter what the circumstance is. I get the idea that she's trying to get Scootaloo to not do something stupid that would get herself seriously injured, and she does mention how she made the same mistake and that she doesn't want it happening to someone else. But her personality feels really off. Instead of finding an appropriate way to tell Scootaloo to not put her life on the line, she comes across as really loud and sporadic. It's a strong exaggeration and not a very positive one. I couldn't take Spitfire seriously because it felt like they were turning her into Ruby from Steven Universe, and that level of over-the-top anger really doesn't fit her. Another issue I had with the episode is that it has a really big continuity error. Scootaloo seems to have forgotten all about the story about Lightning Dust that she told to Dash's parents. So if she knew the story about Lightning Dust, why would she forget about who she is, and why would she initially trust her with her safety? And it's not like they just forgot about it because Dash's parents make an appearance at the end of the episode. And why exactly are any of the other main six being encouraged to watch Dusty's show? Didn't her reckless behavior endanger their lives? And why the hell would they cheer Scootaloo to do something reckless that would most likely put her in a body cast? Did everyone just lose their memories in this episode? I really have no clue. Well, even so, the episode ends on a lesson that's not only good, but important for Dash to learn. She spent a lot of time telling Scootaloo to be like her, but the flaw in that is that it wasn't possible for Scootaloo to do. She didn't realize that she was having Scootaloo setting unrealistic expectations for herself because of her inability to fly. She joined up with the Washouts because it was more possible for her to be a daredevil than a Wonderbolt. When she realized that Scootaloo was aiming for a dangerous dream because she felt discouraged following a lost cause, she realized that she shouldn't have defined awesomeness exclusively with herself for the Wonderbolts. She was wrong to impose her own idea of what's cool and should have left Scootaloo's mind open to other possibilities, something that she learned when she actually saw how the Washouts were cool in their own right. But she also knew that it would have been bad for Scootaloo to take after them because of how dangerous it was. She learned that she shouldn't think of herself as the end-all be-all of what defines cool, and teaches Scootaloo to seek a goal that's obtainable but not reckless. When Scootaloo realizes that she really was thinking about her safety, she better understands her advice and support. It strengthens the bond between the two in a way that feels sentimental and fulfilling. So I have to admit that the Washouts was actually a pretty good episode. Lightning Dust was appropriately represented, the story is paced well, and the relationship between Dash and Scootaloo is given some meaningful context. I really have to admit that Season 8 is doing a lot better with its second half, and that hopefully the remainder of the season will be just as good. So until next time, take care of yourselves and stay awesome. This is Map signing out.